Donald Trump will be sworn in again as president of the United States. His comeback victory unlike anything we have ever seen in American history.
With a final tally of 312 electoral votes, Republicans scored their biggest White House win in 36 years.
Democrats now grappling with their stunning loss and trying to figure out what went wrong.
Welcome back to Finnerty. So Donald Trump with the biggest win for a Republican since George H.W. Bush in 1988, and now Democrats are struggling with how to make sense of what happened on Election Day. The legacy media having the same problem. Joining us now for more, author of the book Confronting the Presidents and anchor of No Spin News, Bill O'Reilly. Bill, good to see you.
I don't think anybody's ever said that to me, Rob. Good to see you. But I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
It is good to see you. You were in, they call it the dominant media, the legacy media, whatever you want to call it. You were a part of it for decades. How much do you think independent media, podcasts, places like Newsmax, your show, how big a role did independent media play in getting Donald Trump elected?
I didn't try to get Donald Trump elected, so I'm not in that zone.
But you know what I'm saying, Bill? Just like an alternative
to
CBS, ABC, NBC.
But I want to be very clear to Newsmax viewers that my job is much more repertorial now than it used to be on the O'Reilly factor. So because the media, the corporate media, refuses to report the facts, and it flat out does, all right, I have to, because there wouldn't be anybody else doing it. And therefore, my business, I have 3 corporations, has rocketed all over the world because people don't trust the corporate media because they're rooting for one side or the other. Now, the election of Donald Trump destroys the liberal side of that equation, absolutely wipes them out, because their viewership was expecting Harris to win. And the reporting on Donald Trump was so dishonest at such a high level that unless you're a complete loon, you know that. So why would you want to consume more of that? The answer is you wouldn't. Where do you go? You go to social media, you go to Newsmax, you go to News Nation, you go to other places that aren't run by major corporations, because the major corporations are telling the journalists, pundits, what to do. They're telling them what to do.
Right.
And Americans, they don't want that. It's a waste of their time.
You think about some of the other options that people have, yourself included. Maybe they were around in 2020. They're not what they are today. And then 2016, they weren't around at all. Think about podcasts. Tucker, Megyn Kelly, Charlie Kirk. There is even Joe Rogan endorsing Donald Trump. How much better prepared, Bill, do you think Donald Trump is today to take office versus 2016? Light years.
There's no comparison. I mean, you remember Donald Trump, when he won, he was surprised. If you read Confronting the Presidents, Trump was shocked that he won. And Hillary Clinton had rented the Javits Center in Manhattan at millions of dollars because they were so confident the Democrats they would win. And when Trump walked in there, as exactly the same thing's happening right now, everybody was asking him for a job. Everybody was asking him. Yeah, can I get this? Can I get that? So Trump made mistakes, like Jeff Sessions as Attorney General. He was a senator from Alabama who endorsed Trump. He was the first one, and Trump gave him AG, and Sessions couldn't handle it. And then he hires Rex Tillerson as Secretary of State. Rex Tillerson ran Enron, or is Exxon, I'm sorry. Yeah. And had no idea what he was doing. This time around, Trump knows what the jobs entail, and I believe will staff at a much more astute level.
Today, Donald Trump announced, so I guess the Department of Energy was founded in 1979. Jimmy Carter founded it. Department of Education, check that. We were first in the world in education, math, science, reading. Now we are 24th in the world. Donald Trump said today that he will close down the Department of Education and give that money back to the states. If you're just hearing the news, I want to get your take on that. Is that the right move? And can we expect more of this from Donald Trump?
Excellent move. Fabulous. I'm a former high school teacher. All education is local. And the feds can't dictate what happens in Bangor, Maine, or Key West, Florida, or San Diego, California. So put the money back into the states. Therefore, the people can hold the local politicians accountable for it. So this district does well, this district doesn't, we'll boot the school board out of this district. That's the way to do it. So Trump is correct in that decision as far as I'm concerned.
Is there any way that what happened last Tuesday, Bill, in your opinion, ends up being the best thing that ever happened to Democrats? Like, do they figure this out somehow over the next 4 years and storm back in 2028 with a shiny new candidate to run?
There's no leader in the Democratic Party. I think Barack Obama took it on the chin, and he was the leader this time around. So I think he's going to recede unless Michelle, for some reason, wants to run for president. But if that doesn't happen, I don't think we're going to hear a lot from the Obamas. So then who's the leader of the Democratic Party? There isn't any. So you got the Bernie Sanders faction, which is the far left socialists. They dominated Biden-Harris. They won it. Then you got a moderate Democrat faction. I would say Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, is pretty much the most high visible person there. But do they have the clout to beat the progressives who have all the money, the Soros money? No, they don't. So I think that division in the Democratic Party, I don't see it improving anytime soon.
I want to talk to you about confronting the presidents. I enjoyed the book, Bill, and you've talked about Joe Biden as one of the worst presidents in American history. The last time we talked was before the election, and now, no matter what, part of Joe Biden's legacy will forever be handing the keys to the White House back to Donald Trump. So where does Joe Biden stack up historically now?
Second worst president ever. And the reason is that most of our poor presidents, Jimmy Carter, Herbert Hoover, Franklin Pierce, Millard Fillmore, all of those people, all right? James Buchanan was the worst. He was the guy that led into the Civil War, did absolutely nothing to tamp it down. Joe Biden created the problems. Most of the poor presidents inherited the problems. Like Herbert Hoover inherited the Great Depression. He didn't cause it, but he couldn't solve it. And some people say he made it worse, okay? But Biden created the open border. It was pretty much under control until he walked in. He created massive inflation with all of these regulations on the fossil fuel industries and this insane government spending, which was unnecessary, all right? So when you create the problems and they get out of control and then the people vote you out, you know, you're the second worst.
Yeah.
And Buchanan will never be top because he was a rank coward and 1 million people died because of the Civil War. So Biden can't top him, but Biden is number 2.
Yeah, that is some company, Bill. And I think that Joe Biden, maybe they were celebrating at the White House when Kamala lost on Tuesday. You know, I'm sort of the mind that Joe Biden and Jill were fine with the result, thinking that Joe can forever say that he was the only guy to beat Donald Trump. I don't know. I think he handed the keys back to Donald Trump, and that's going to be that'll be part of his New York Times obit whenever that happens. Hopefully, no time soon. Bill O'Reilly, great to see you. Thanks so much for being with us. I appreciate it as always. The book is Confronting the Presidents. Look forward to having you back, Bill. Thank you.
Thanks for reading the book, Rob.